Hey guys, this is Sports Fan Network, and I'm Andrew.
And I'm Travis.
Well, March Madness is officially upon us as the NCAA tournament is officially starting. And what we'll be doing for this segment here is we'll be breaking down the East and Midwest region before they officially kick off their games, giving you a little preview about who we think could be some potential Cinderella teams, some teams that we're going to put on some upset alert, as well as some matchups to look out for as these regions sort of play themselves out. So, Travis, I'm going to start with you. What's a potential Cinderella team in the East region?
Yeah, in the East region, I chose Marshall. Marshall is known for its high volume scoring. Their offense is running through their two guards, John Elmore and C.J. Burks. John Elmore is averaging 22.8 points per game, while C.J. Burks is averaging 20.5 points per game. And also, I want to talk about their center, Paneva, and he is just an absolute beast in the middle for Marshall. He is averaging a ridiculous 4 blocks per game. All three of these guys are studs, and this is why I have them as a potential Cinderella team.
Yeah, if you don't know, Mike D'Antoni's brother Dan D'Antoni is the coach for Marshall, so you're gonna get some offense when Marshall comes to town to play. So I like them there, but for me, I'm gonna go with Murray State, the 12 seed. They're shooting 38% from three so far this season, and they're led by their point guard Jonathan Stark, who's averaging 21 points per game. And if this team can get hot from three, man, they can go on a run. They got some explosive offensive talent, although they're playing against West Virginia in the first round. So that's a very tough matchup. West Virginia, they love to press. They love to get into you defensively. So that's going to be a bit of a tough matchup for Murray State to get the handle. And then in the second round, if they get past West Virginia, they'll most likely be playing Wichita State, another tough defensive team. So the path is tough for Murray State, but I feel like they got enough offensive firepower where they can sort of get through those two defensive matchups and possibly make a run. But Travis, which team is on an upset alert?
Yeah, Texas Tech, watch out because I am putting you on the upset alert. They have struggled with many close losses at the end of the season. They've battled injuries to their star player, Keenan Evans, and they're facing a Stephen F. Austin team that can get hot from three, and they can put up points in a hurry. They averaged 81 points a game.
Yeah, Texas Tech does have the size and athletics advantage in this one. SF Austin, I mean, they're a 14 seed. They don't really have a lot of size and athleticism, like I mentioned, but they can shoot the ball. If they get hot for one game, which is what we're really talking about here when we talk about an upset, they can get hot for one game. Texas Tech, I mean, they're at a disadvantage here, I feel like, if SF Austin gets hot going forward. But now let's look at some matchups to look out for in the potential tournament. What's one matchup that we feel like that can be a really good game going forward in this region?
Yeah, one matchup that really intrigues me is number 1 Villanova versus number 9 Alabama, potentially meeting in the second round. And this would be a battle of two of the best point guards in the country between Colin Sexton and Jalen Brunson, who have just both had terrific seasons. Sexton has really been on a tear late in the season. He made a late season push for Alabama to get them in the tournament, and he's been playing very dynamic. I think Villanova has the edge, but this could be a very entertaining matchup between two of the best point guards in the NCAA. Andrew, what's one matchup to look out for in the East?
Yeah, I like Florida versus Purdue facing off potentially in the Sweet 16. Florida, when I look at them, they're a very streaky team, but they're very athletic. They do a good job of taking care of the basketball. They don't turn the ball over very often. So you know what you're getting there. They're a well-coached team. They're very athletic. They don't really have a lot of NBA talent, though, so that kind of hinders them a little bit. When we get to Purdue here, they have really good size led by their big 7-foot center, Isaac Haas. I mean, the guy's an absolute beast down low. Gets every rebound, it seems like. And they're led by their two wings of Carson and Vincent Edwards, who can flat out score. Carson Edwards put up 40 points in the game against U of I, University of Illinois earlier in the season, and Vincent scored 30 points in the game. So those two can go off at any point during the season. So, I mean, those guys can absolutely fill it up, and that'll be a very good matchup for, Florida. They're more of an athletic team, whereas Purdue, they're more of a slow it down, grind it out team, kind of that Big Ten old school type of basketball.
Yeah, and the final matchup for me to look out for is how about number 4 Wichita State versus number 5 West Virginia, potentially meeting up in the second round. And this one would be a lot of fun to watch because these are two defensive-minded teams. West Virginia with their press and Wichita State with their physicality. Landry Shamat leads the Shockers and impacts the game in every aspect of the game. He's their leader for the Wichita State. And then for the leader of West Virginia, it has to be Javon Carter. He's just on a mission. He's in his senior season. He's averaging 17 points a game, 6.6 assists per game, and 3 steals per game. He really gets after you on the defensive end of the floor. This is going to be a very fun defensive game to potentially watch in the second round.
Yeah, I really love that matchup between Wichita State and West Virginia. Really hoping to see that happen. 2 defensive-minded teams. Love to get after it defensively. So that'll be a very interesting matchup to watch if they can get to that second round, assuming they do get to that second round. But, Travis, who's your favorite to win in this bracket? Villanova's the 1 seed. I'm kind of leaning towards them so far. They have pretty much everything going for them. They play great defensively. Jalen Brunson's been a beast for them all season at the point guard position. But who's your favorite to win in this region?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to go with Villanova. I don't really think there's a team that's in this region that's a real legit threat to knock them out. Villanova has been one of the best teams in the country throughout the entire season, play through Jalen Brunson. They just have a very deep team. They're very good at scoring. They can light up the scoreboard. I think they're the favorite to come out of the East.
Well, let's move on to the Midwest region. And, Travis, I'm going to start with you. What's a potential Cinderella team going for the Midwest region?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to have to go with the number 9 seed, NC State. And NC State has proven that they could beat anyone in the country. Let's look at their resume so far. They beat Duke by 11 points. They split versus North Carolina. They beat Arizona by 6. And they also split versus Clemson. These are all teams that were in the top 25. Some of them were in the top 10. And I think if they can upset KU in the second round, they have a legitimate shot of making a run to the Elite 8. North Carolina State is very good offensively, and they've beaten some of the best teams in the country. I think they could be a potential Cinderella team. Andrew, what was the team you chose out of the Midwest to be a Cinderella team?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 12 seed here, New Mexico State. They beat Miami early in the year, so we know that they can beat high-level, big conference competition. But they're not really a good shooting team. But what they do very well is they'll be very physical defensively and on the boards. Speaking of rebounding, Jamario Jones, he's 6'5", but he's averaging 13 rebounds a game. That's insane. For a 6'5" forward guard, whatever you want to call him, averaging 13 rebounds a game for anybody at the college level is just a ridiculous amount of rebounding. That's just incredible. If they can beat Clemson, they can easily make it to the Sweet 16. I feel like, again, they're not a great shooting team, but what they lack in that, they add for it in heart, physicality, and defensive rebounding. And that goes a long way in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, then moving on to upset alerts in the Midwest. Andrew, I'll start with you. Which team are you putting on upset alert?
Well, I'm putting number 4 seed Auburn on upset alert. They're playing Charleston, who's the 13 seed in the first round. And Charleston, sticking with Auburn here, they can score some points. They scored 83 points per game in the regular season, but they're very bad defensively, giving up 73 points per game. And they've been on a cold streak of late. Really, the biggest loss came in their last game against Alabama in this SEC tournament. They got absolutely blown out, 80-61. Colin Sexton he just dominated them from the beginning to end of that game. So they're really coming into the tournament at a low note. And Charleston, they have 3 players that can really score the ball. When I look at Grant Ryler, Joe Cheeley, and Jarrell Brantley, those 3 guys can flat out score. They're not going to pass it around a bit. They're going to look to exploit some matchups here. That's what those 3 guys like to do. And I feel like they can do that against this Auburn team that is a little bit, struggling a bit as of late.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, my potential upset alert team in the Midwest, I'm going with number 5 seed Clemson. And I don't think there's a great chance of this occurring. But if I had to pick one team to get upset in the Midwest, I'm going to have to go with Clemson because their star senior forward, Don Grantham, tore his ACL in January. And this will be a devastating blow for Clemson without his services. He's been their best player all season. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to perform in the NCAA tournament. Without him, they've done pretty well since he's been hurt. I think they went 6-5 since he got injured. But like you said, New Mexico State is a very physical team defensively and a strong rebounding team, which, is usually 2 things that teams look for in potentially getting an upset. If a team can control the boards, limit second chances for other teams while getting second or third opportunities on offense, that goes a long way in potentially upsetting a team.
Yeah, agreed. And then for some matchups to look out for, Travis, what are some of the matchups in this region that you're looking out to see?
Well, the one that I think is the most exciting has to be number 3 Michigan State versus number 2 Duke that could potentially meet up in the Sweet 16. And this would be an absolute showcase of NBA-level talent. You got Miles Bridges for Michigan State. You got Melvin Braggley, Grayson Allen, a lot of Duke guys that could potentially go in the NBA next summer. You also have to look at the legendary coaches of Tom Izzo and Coach K. I mean, this is just two of the best NCAA teams ever. They just have such a rich franchise. This would be a very exciting matchup to look out for. They started off both top 5 in the preseason poll, so this would be very exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the matchup between Marvin Bagley and Jaren Jackson, two freshman big guys for these opposing teams. These two can really get after it on the boards. It'll be interesting to see those two guys go after it. But for me, my matchup is Rhode Island, the 7th seed, going up against Oklahoma, the 10th seed in the first round. It's really for one reason only, and that's because Trae Young. I feel like Oklahoma, the only reason they're in this tournament is because Trae Young is such a dynamic player. If he wasn't on this team, they wouldn't be here. And if Trae Young wasn't such a hot commodity right now, they wouldn't be in the tournament, let's be honest. Because Oklahoma State, they deserve to be in over Oklahoma, in my opinion. Even USC deserved to be in the tournament besides Oklahoma, in my opinion. But Trae Young, he's such an exciting player. He led Division I basketball in both points scored and assist. The guy's absolutely insane. He can absolutely fill it up from the outside. He's a great shooter. I know a lot of people want to compare him to Steph Curry. I'm not going to go that far yet. Slow the brakes there, pump the brakes a little bit. But the guy's an absolutely dynamic collegiate player. He's a lock for a top 10 pick in my mind in the upcoming NBA draft. And he's going to put up some fireworks in this game, I feel like. This might be his last college game. I think he's going to go out with a bang against a very solid Rhode Island team.
Yeah, I think that'll definitely be an interesting matchup to watch to find out, people will find out if Oklahoma deserve to make the tournament, if they're able to beat Rhode Island, or if Rhode Island is going to beat Oklahoma. It's definitely going to be fun to watch. But, Andrew, who do you think is going to be the favorite to come out of the Midwest?
Yeah, for me, it all comes down to that matchup between Michigan State and Duke in the Sweet 16, if those two teams can get there. And for me, I'm taking Michigan State. I feel like Duke, they're a little bit weak defensively. I've seen them get really exploited this season. Their zone isn't very strong, in my opinion, and they're still a very young team that can get exploited. And if you can rattle them a little bit, it kind of goes through their head a little bit as a young team. And I don't trust Grayson Allen, some of his antics. He might trip somebody again and get kicked out of the game. You never know what's going to happen with that guy, man. But Michigan State, they're coached by Tom Izzo. I just trust him a lot more. Miles Bridges, he's a sophomore this season. I feel like he's got a lot more experience going into this tournament rather than last season. And I just feel like they're going to make a run.
Yeah, I agree with you where I think it's going to be decided between Duke and Michigan State. But I'm going to have to go with the opposite with you on this one. I'm going to choose Duke because I think they're just way too loaded offensively. Yes, they have their problems on defense. But Duke's center, I can't think of his name right now, but he really, fixes a lot of those problems on the defensive end. He's a great shot blocker. He fixes a lot of the mixed cues. And yes, Duke does not have a great zone. It can get exploited. But I just think there's too much offensive firepower. They got one of the best big men in the country who can just control the rebounding, control the paint. And also their offense, they're just so explosive that they can just go on a run like that. You saw the game against North Carolina where they're down by 15 in the second half and they're able to make a run and come back and win it. I think Duke is just too good of a team. They have a great coach in Coach K. I think they're the favorites to, come out of the Midwest.
Should be interesting. A lot of talent so far in this college tournament, and I can't wait for March Madness to begin. But that concludes our preview for the East and Midwest regions for the NCAA tournament that's coming up. Give us your thoughts on what you think is going to go down for the March Madness. It's probably the best time of the year in terms of sports. Anything could happen. I know me and Travis are really excited to see it. Thanks, guys, for watching, and let us know what you guys think in the comments section below.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching.